So many news stories to cover today. Where does one start? But before we do start, can I yet again remind you, don't forget to hit the bell icon, subscribe to the channel. These things really do help spread my word and get more people interested in the things that Morning Shot does. Anyway, let's get on to the news. The first news is that Ernest Roets is leaving AfriForum and Solidarity. So Ernest has actually been there for a very long time. He's one of the brainchilds behind a lot of the rhetoric that goes on around AfriForum. In fact, if you recall the case that was put forward against Julius Malema for the Kill the Boer anti-hate speech case, well, that actually centered around Ernest Roets' book around farm murders. Now, according to Ernest, he's leaving AfriForum to pursue his callings. What that calling is, not entirely sure. Is he going to become a pastor, preacher, country singer, local ranch hand in the US? I haven't got a clue. In fact, it's actually very tight-lipped at this point in time, and no one really knows. A lot of the announcement actually broke on Twitter, because Ernest announced it on Twitter, and obviously it's been in the news, but he's not really elaborated on the rationality. Now, another news article of interest is that apparently Julius Malema also now loves Afrikaners. You do. And this is actually on the back of the news that, as you will know, if you watch this channel, that Elon Musk is basically trying to get him declared an international, terrorist because of the rhetoric that he often levels at Afrikaners. This obviously all being pushed forward by Elon Musk. Now, it's interesting because at the weekend he went to an auction, a cattle auction, where he sat with a number of Afrikaners, and he basically used this as proof, according to him, that actually likes Afrikaners. He wants Afrikaners to stay in South Africa because he says there's no better land to live in than South Africa. He says South Africa is the best. Why would you want to go and live anywhere else? And you're very welcome here so long as you share your stuff. Now, we often hear about the original sin of South Africa, the original sin being the land issue. But many people fail to understand what the actual land issue is. The land issue is that there's private ownership of land. Quite often it's not that the land is owned by specific individuals, it's that the land is privately owned. The original sin is that we live in a capitalistic society with property rights. Remember that Julius wants to push for socialism where the land is owned by the state. So if you want to have him be at peace with you, you'll adopt socialism. Because once socialism is adopted, we all know that a utopia always follows. Trust us, guy, we know this to be true because the law of trust me, bro. Of course, history doesn't actually show us that, but it's never really been tried properly before, has it? So let's go on to the main news story of, today, which will be yesterday by the time you watch this video. And I waited all day to make this video because, this video was actually supposed to be about the budget. It was going to be about how we are going to get a big VAT increase and whatever other bull rubbish was going to happen in order to fund the government's stupid, dumbass programs, which is usually them buying votes with our tax money. But the budget didn't happen. Now, there's a reason for that, because according to the news, apparently, they were going to propose a 2% VAT increase. Now, it's interesting to note that this 2% VAT increase was apparently, supposedly, approved by Cabinet, but then not approved by Cabinet. And even before the budget, the usual suspects, the unions, were basically going out there and protesting the government for their deeply anti-working class budget. Because according to them, this VAT increase would hurt the working class, would not actually provide any form of cushioning to the poor. In fact, it would actually make the poor pay. And according to this, the unions, this actually showed a crisis of capitalism. It's not a crisis of capitalism, you freaking cretin. It shows you that we have a government spending beyond its means. That we don't have a tax base to fund all these lofty, stupid programs that you guys have all the time, when you're spending other people's money with no industry to actually pay for it. Now, according to the union, they managed to get 100,000 signatures. from around the country objecting to budget cuts, because you see, budget cuts were also going to be proposed by Godongwana during his budget. And this would be terrible because we couldn't have an austerity budget because reasons. And apparently Kusatu and the SSCP, yep, the parasites, also were deeply unhappy about this. And so they wanted to protest. Now, Godongwana actually had made a very interesting comment. And he was interviewed and they said to him, do you know, the union's outside? Vavi's outside, he's protesting. And he says, yeah, when's he not outside? Like he says, every day in office, the guy's outside protesting something. And it's so refreshing to understand that Godongwana understands full well that the leeches just keep asking for more. And it's a problem because he can't give it. The commodity booms has ended, which basically means the windfalls that we were getting from extra taxation to the commodity boom is pretty much gone. Industry is not doing very well. I mean, we've already seen the news that obviously we need to give a bailout to the steel industry, or South Africa's aim or wish to have this whole construction state. It's not going to happen. We've now got AGOA under threat. Well, it's going to be a hell of a lot of taxes going to disappear when certain forms of industry there dry up. And at the end of the day, yeah, your tax base is shrinking because you keep making people unemployable by closing companies with stupid policy. And so there does get to a point where you basically get saturated because according to the trade unions, just increase corporate tax and tax the capitalists, the evil capitalists. But Godongwana himself raises the objection that you can't because we're already really highly taxed. In fact, we're actually uncompetitive in terms of our corporate tax. If you raise it anymore, corporates will just be like, we're out of here. There is some argument that corporates are already going, we're out of here. So the reality is, he says, well, don't really know where I'm going to get all the money from. And this inevitably is the old Margaret Thatcher argument against socialism. It always collapses because you've got to rely on spending somebody else's money. Eventually that runs out. And that's exactly what's happened in our budget. Now, according to the news, very interestingly, the reason the budget didn't get announced today is that one of the key parties who actually went against the budget was John Steenhuisen. So John wasn't in favor of a VAT increase, apparently. But according to Godongwana, the DA weren't the only one to not like the budget. In fact, he said there were a number of people in cabinet that actually didn't really like it. In fact, interestingly enough, he said there were even ANC members that didn't like it. Who knew? I mean, the communists that like spending cash that other people have also going like, wow, we don't want you to not spend cash. Yeah, that definitely doesn't sound like the ANC. Anyway, John says that this was all his fantastic ideas. And it's just pure garbage because there were loads of other people that didn't like it. And Godongwana says, well, we're just going to have to go out there, basically come up with a new budget, come back to the drawing board. But news was that this budget was going to have VAT increases and big spending for NHI and all the other stupid vanity projects, an increase in the social welfare grants because there was a high court judgment that said they need to increase that to match the increase in costs of living. There were loads of different things that were going to have to somehow magic out their hat, including a 5.5% pay rise for the civil servants that don't do anything. Well, apparently the budget has now been stalled. And according to John, South Africa only has one option. We need to do what the Argentinian president, Milei, has done. Just, cut for all the stupid rubbish out the state. And we need a really, really austerous budget to the point where we can actually just get out there, cut everything that's useless and really go balls to the wall and go full capitalism. But in typical fashion, the leeches are unhappy. The unions are saying they want increase in social grants. They want all their union buddies employed with bullshit programs that can't be funded. They want all the usual vanity rubbish everywhere. And we just don't have the money. I must admit, I feel really sorry for Godongwana because he has the job of finding cash that just doesn't exist. It just doesn't exist. So what exactly are they going to do? The SARS commissioner himself has said, even increasing VAT, not really going to get you the increase in revenue that you need. Can't increase corporate tax. You can cut, medical aid credits, give you a little bit of money back. A little bit. But the money needed for the vanity rubbish just isn't there. We just don't have it. And so the question you have to ask is, what are they going to do now? Don't forget they've lost a lot of budget as well from the Americans cutting all the USA aid. They've got to fund those programs now themselves. They don't have the money. So what are they going to do? Hey, your guess is as good as mine. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't even know what he's going to do. That's why he delayed the budget speech, because he didn't even know where the freaking hell the money's coming from. This is the news for today. Another day in Clownland. Until next time, bye.